Right then, so we're looking at question 3, and this is what you should be doing in your answer. You start off with one sentence, state your opinion. Write a paragraph for, write a paragraph against, and a conclusion. And within your paragraphs, you have to include your own knowledge and the sources, as well as focusing on the question up here. And all of this is, of course, on the how-to guides which I've put on the website. So if you turned up on Monday thinking, I don't know how to do this, well, it was quite obvious from your answers usually, and that's, you need to be able to do this exam. We need practice at doing this. If you're an A-star person, you might have done these things, maybe not quite reached A-star. Well, there's two things. You need to get specific specialist or knowledge into your answer, and if appropriate, mention source reliability. Occasionally, just, if you've used a source, say, of course you have to be careful when using this source, because that is a great phrase. I'm even going to write it down. Of course you have to be careful when using this source, because, I don't know why those dots are up there, but anyway. So I'm going to just copy and paste that. I'm going to make the background white, and I'll apply, and I'm going to give you an idea of the sort of thing that I might write. Okay. So let me just think about my opinion on this particular question, and I think my personal argument would be young people in the 1960s were not out of control in general, although a minority were. And then I'm going to for, against, and I'm already thinking of my conclusion here, and I'm going to jot it down here because I've got an idea in my head. Young people, no, hold on. In conclusion, young people were not out of control in the 1960s, although some young people did cause trouble. For example, in the 1964 bank holiday, battles on the beaches between mountain rockers. However, for the most part, the trouble caused by young people was exaggerated by the newspapers because it was interesting and helped to sell the newspaper. So there you go. Right, I think I've got my conclusion. I can always change that at the end, and if I was in the exam, obviously I would write that out. I'd just make a little note. Now, wife, you've already interrupted one of my podcasts by making me laugh. What can I do for you this time? I can't pause it. I have to carry on. See you later. Okay. So, the for paragraph. Well, there's plenty of reasons to believe that the sources show that the young people were out of control, and of course it's okay to use the sources you've already used. So, for example, source A. I should probably write it in properly. So, on one hand, there is evidence that young people are out of control. And on the one hand, on the other hand, is a brilliant way to do this answer. I'd always recommend you do it. If you haven't got it in your answer, I'd stick that little sentence in at the start of your paragraphs. So, for example, comma. Source A shows the attitude of some people toward the trouble being caused by young people. Some young people certainly carried weapons, as shown in the image. Source A can be supported by source B, which is that 1,000 young people invaded Clacton, fighting, drinking, roaring, rampaging. So there we go, and I'll put that quotes because that is that. Oops. That little bit is a direct quote, so put it in there. And from my own knowledge, oops, I know that in 1964 there were problems with moths and rockers on beaches across England, such as Margate, Clacton, and most famously Brighton. So there's the sort of thing I would put in there. You can see this is just part of my paragraph, by the way. I've used source A, I've used source B, I've used the quotes, as you can see, weapons shown in the image. There's an example of you can't really put, you could put a quote because there's a little writing up there, but if you're not using a quote and you've got an image, you pick out something from the image. And of course, there's a bit of my own knowledge. But I know from my own knowledge. Another way of putting this, that might be a bit more intelligent, history tells us. That's a little bit less simplistic than from my own knowledge, I know. But it doesn't really matter which one you put, it'll get you the marks. Against, well, you've got to do the same sort of thing, but it's going to be, on the other hand, there is evidence that young people were not out of control in the 1960s, for example. And then let's see if we can use this, because not many of you use these sources. One or two of you use source E though. For example, source E shows that although Enoch Powell, an older person and an MP, bit of our knowledge in there, was suggesting violence in terms of what was happening with immigration, because we know what the Rivers of Blood speech was. Young people were having a silent protest, which is the opposite of being out of control, especially. No, I'll leave that actually. I was going to go on to say something about that's especially significant because it's actually somebody who was older who was suggesting violence, but I've kind of said that over here. Similarly, source F by a historian says that much of the so-called rebellion had merely been young people trying to fit in, and most of what they did was growing their hair and other such harmless acts of rebellion. So there's two little bits there. Now then, A-star people, if we just go back a slide, I did say sprinkling specific specialist or knowledge, I've done that. If appropriate, mention source reliability occasionally. Right, okay, well, let's see if I can pop that in here and show you where I'd do it. However, you do have to be careful when using source A, because this is a cartoon that is designed to mock people and appears in a newspaper which were typically anti-young, which were typically, how would I say, critical of young people at the time. So, there we go. This is my little bit of defense. You have to be careful when using source A because, bang that in there, that's an A-star little thing. Oh no, you do have to be careful. Oops, get rid of that. When using source A, because. There we go. Oh, brilliant! The cat's come to interrupt now. So there, this is what we call modelling an answer. So we've got my intro, just one sentence. That's all. You've got an example of what my paragraph 4 might look like. Example of against, and my example of a conclusion. Now, you might be thinking, oh, that's quite a lot. Well, I would get decent marks for this. It would be great if I'd had more time to write a bit more and take into account more of the sources, but the fact of the matter is it's focused on the question. That's another thing, out of control. You'll see there'll be talks, problems with them, roaring, rampage, carried weapons, designed to mock people, critical in time, not out of control, out of control, control. That word control's cropping up time and time again, and here and in the conclusion. So there's definite focus. You've seen that there's own knowledge, and you've seen that I've used the source. So I've got those three key elements, which means I'm definitely going to get good marks, even if I'd rather have put a little bit more evidence in. And I'd be confident of getting certainly between 12 and 16 marks. So use this. If you're stuck, you're thinking I don't know how to green pen, you can steal phrases. Use one hand on the one hand is. Use, however, you do have to be careful with source A, because use some of the things that I've used for my own knowledge. Look back at your sheet. You can even steal my argument if you want, because do you know what? This sort of source paper might well come up, because teenagers hasn't come up for a while. So, there's a chance that you might get a question similar to this in the real thing. And I hope that was useful. There we go.